This conference will now be recorded.
See, XPath is an HTML path, or it is in XML format. So every web page in backside is in XML format. So we can find the element by using XPath, nothing but that XML file path, right? So XPath is of two types. One is absolute XPath, another one is relative XPath. What is the absolute XPath theme? So absolute XPath identify same element from the root node. Root node nothing but starting from its HTML page. See, that's why we are saying as a root node. This is starting from HTML. So from HTML and then each and every tag. And this is not all recommended. Why it's not all recommended? It's a very lengthy one, and moreover any middle tag is got changed, and this XPath will not going to work for. It's not useful for long run, right? So if you have a dynamic web pages, the dynamic web page is always going to change, or always going to remove a tag name or adding tag name. So if any a middle, if any in this middle absolute XPath new tag is added, if old tag is deleted, then it will not going to work. That's why we are not going to use absolute XPath and relative XPath. Relative XPath is same. It can identify the element, but it will identify element from the current node. So we are skipping this navigation. So from starting HTML body and navigation from parent tag name and then child tag name. So we are skipping this navigation. Directly we can identify element from the current node. So how we can identify? So by using a relative XPath. Relative XPath, if you want to identify a relative XPath, you have some syntax, a separate syntax for relative. So what is the syntax team? Slash slash tag name @symbol attribute equals to attribute value. We have to give the syntax like this. And let's see how to identify a relative XPath. So let me execute this one. So this will identify element by using ID. Now this time just comment on this one. Let me comment this entire line. Now if you launch a browser, enter the URL. Yes. Now it's launch browser, enter the URL. Now I have to enter my mail ID in this text box. How to enter team? So first of all, you have to inspect this text box, and it will open your DOM structure, and inspect again. It will give you this XML attributes of this particular text box. So what are the attributes we have? Already we have used ID for this. So remember team, remember relative XPath. In this relative XPath, you can use any attribute irrespective of your value. You can use any attribute and any attribute value here. See, this is nothing but attribute and attribute value. What we are saying, what is the attribute here? So these are all attributes. Type is an attribute, email is a value, class is an attribute, this is JHQ, this is one attribute value. You can use any attribute. Why we are going for XPath? Whenever you are not having ID or name or class name, then go for XPath. So as of now, and remember, you can use any XPath. As of now, let me use the same this ID value to identify this element by using XPath. So what is the syntax team? Slash slash. We have to use tag name. What is the element tag name? My text box tag name. Already we know input, right? And square braces @ you have to give attribute value. What is attribute name? What is my attribute name? ID equals to, in the single quote, you have to give attribute value. This is attribute value, identifier ID. Now let me give in a single quote. observing. So in this text box, we have to enter your XPath. So we have a syntax to enter XPath. What is the syntax team? Slash slash tag name at the rate nothing but identify element by using the tag name. This is at the rate. We are saying that identify element by using its tag name ID, and the value is equals to, within the single quote you have to give the value identifier ID, and single quotes close and square bracket close. And this is a command nothing but you're executing a command in a DOM structure. Please identify element in this DOM structure slash slash nothing but in this HTML page by using tag name input, and by at the rate nothing but attribute. What is that attribute? ID equals to identifier ID. Like this, you can give any attribute name. So what it is saying? One of one, nothing but there is only one element having this input tag name attribute ID equal to attribute value identifier ID. Clear team? Now you can use this XPath to enter the value. See, this is earlier we have used directly ID, right? Now this time let me use XPath. So let me comment on this one. Same, there is no difference. But now this time we are identifying by using XPath. Creating. Now here you have to call method. Which method? In by class you have to call class of the method of XPath. In by class we have a methods, right? We have a methods for each and every locator mechanism. So observe it. XPath. Now this time it will identify element by using its XPath. This is using directly ID. This is using XPath. And you have to call your method based on your locator mechanism team. Clear? And same method for entering my mail ID, right? So as of now, let me comment out this one because I don't want to quit browser. Now, first of all, you will launch browser, only we know web driver will be Chrome driver, and enter the URL and identify element by using XPath and then entering my email ID. Observe it. Observing. Now my browser got launched, URL got entered, and then my mail ID got entered by using XPath. Now this time my find element method identify element by using which one? By using a method called XPath. My locator mechanism is XPath. Clear team? Always you have to check whether we have a duplicate elements or not, and whether we are copying correct attribute ID, attribute value, and attribute. You have to copy from this DOM correctly. Otherwise, it will throw you no such element exception. Clear team? And this is the one example. I identified using identifying element by using ID. Like this, you can use any attribute value here. So observe team. So as of now, let me remove this one. See here. So we are having type equals to email. Like this. See, this one is I'm using ID attribute and ID attribute value. Like this, and this is type equal to main. And even you can use class name also. Input square bracket at the rate. What is the class value here? So observe, this is my class value. Copy this class value at the rate class, right? Class equals to, within the single quote, paste the this one class value. Now this time it will identify same XPath, but I am using what attribute here? Class attribute. Class mail, sorry, class name and ID. You can directly use or you can use within the XPath. Then what is the purpose of going for XPath theme? Whenever your element, let's say, suppose this next button you have to click. So whenever your element is not having ID, whenever your element not having a class name or name, and whenever you have a duplicates, whenever your element having a duplicates, then go for a XPath. Clear team? And for XPath, you can use index mechanism also. For XPath, you can use index mechanism. Let's check how to use them. So let's consider I want to identify this element. So this element having one of the attribute class. See this one class. So copy this class and go to your text box. So I identified text box here. Now slash slash tag name at the rate class equals to value my class. This one. Observe him. This time it is not identifying. Why? Because see class may be duplicate, and remember, see the class name is not used to only one. See your element is may not having only one class. It may be the combination of two classes. Let's consider if your class attribute value having the spaces, so that may be two classes. We cannot say this is a single class. So observe him. I'm removing this one. I'm removing this one. Now see observe. It is identifying one of two, nothing but we have a two values. If you want to differentiate or if you want to differentiate between the duplicates, then you can use index mechanism. Index mechanism. So in XPath, we have a index mechanism. Let's give it here index mechanism. Why index mechanism team? So to avoid duplicates. So you can use index mechanism like this. If element having a duplicates, if element having duplicates, to avoid duplicates, use index mechanism. See, to avoid element duplicates, we can use index mechanism. The XPath we see we in XPath we have so much of flexibility to identify elements. We have so much of flexibilities. So if you have 100 duplicates, you can identify. So if you have a text, you can identify. If element not having the properties, even though you can identify. Such a beautiful mechanism we have in XPath. So we can use a navigation, we can use functions, we can use you can use a access, XPath access. So anyway, we have to identify element, and we can identify element by using XPath anything. Let's see. Let's use index mechanism. See it in. See now it is saying two of one, nothing but this class is used by two elements. This is the first one. This is second one. Sorry, this is the first one, and this is the second one. See, this is one of two and two of two, right? And now I want to identify first one. I want to communicate with first element. For this, just use an index mechanism like this. See, you have to use index mechanism like this. So anyway, we have no syntax, right? Slash slash your tag name, right? At the rate attribute name equals to within the single quotes, you have to use attribute value, right? So any tag name, any attribute value. After your XPath, you have to use index mechanism like this. Close your XPath, entire XPath like this within the square bracket, within the parentheses, and give index number here like this. Now this time, observe. Let me close my entire XPath. Let me close my entire XPath and give index number within the square braces. See, square braces starting, square braces ending. Within the square braces, I want to identify which element. First one. Let's give first one. Observing. Now it is highlighting my first element by using class name and index number. Right? So if I want to identify first one, this is the mechanism. XPath with index number. This is XPathing. This is XPath. This is XPath and this is index number. So you have to close your XPath within the curly braces and you have to give index number. See team, if I give 2 here, it will identify second one. But in web page it is not showing. In DOM structure it will show. Anyway, we don't need second one. We have to communicate with first one only. That's why I am giving here first one. Now, if you view this XPath, you can identify element by using XPath index mechanism. And it will identify element by using this one. So just replace this one, use that one, and now you are good to communicate with that element by using class name as an attribute and attribute value, and along with class name you are using index mechanism. Just remove this one, right, and let's paste this one within the double quotes. Just paste this one. Now this time you will good to go use the same one. Clear team? Now that is XPath index mechanism. And now, so we can identify element by using single attribute. As of now, we are identifying element with single attribute, right? So using XPath, you can identify element by using two attributes. Right. So as of now, what we are seeing team, we can identify element by using single attribute. This is a single attribute name and attribute value, right? Along with single attribute and attribute value, and you can use one more attribute. At what situation? Let's consider. Let's consider. See, see, this is my element, one of the element. So let's say DOM structure starting from HTML, right? So this is the end of HTML. Right, and within this middle, so you're having your all elements. Let's consider my one element is tag name is input, and this is having id equals to 123, one attribute, and class is equal to let's say class, same class, or you can say first one. This is first one. Now observing, see, observe. Now this time ID equals to 123, and second time launching, this ID is going to change 124, right? 124, or next time 125. Now every time it is going to change. Now this time what I have to use here? Anyway, you can use or you can identify by element by using class name. How to use? Already we have just seen. So just use like this. If you want to use go by a class name, you can directly go with class name, right? Or you can use like this, dot find element by dot of, you can use by dot of class. For class method you can supply your class here. What is the class here? First class. Directly you can supply here, or else you can go by a XPath. How to construct XPath theme for this element? How to construct XPath? Just you can use by data of XPath method for that method. So you have to supply this one. What is this one? XPath. This is also double quote string. This is the method it will identify. For find element method, we have to supply like this. And what is the XPath? How to XPath construction here for this element by using a class attribute and attribute value? Already we have a syntax, right? Slash slash tag name. What is the element tag name? Input. And what is the attribute I want to identify? At the rate class. Because why I'm going for a class? Uh, I have an ID, but this ID is going to change for each and every execution. First time it is 1 to 3, and second time it is 1 to 4, 1 to 5, and 1 to 6. Now let's use the class name. Why I'm going for class name? My ID value is always dynamic. That's why I'm going for a class name. What is my class attribute value? Class attribute value. Now pair versus close. Right? So if this element having duplicates, use index mechanism. Let's consider as of now, it is not having a duplicates, right? So within the double quotes, you have to give right this one method. Observing. Now this is a single attribute. You can identify element by using single attribute. This is single attribute. We are using single attribute here. Now along with single attribute, we can identify element by using two attributes. Nothing but at a time we can supply multiple attribute and attribute values. Let's say this id is common, this id is not changing. If id is not changing, I can use id directly, or along with id attribute and attribute value I can use same element one more attribute. Let's say this element having two attributes, right? So now this time I can use one more attribute. For this we have a two ways. You can use AND operator, you can use OR operator. So if I want to use AND operator, this is the syntax team. So we have a syntax called AND operator. Let's use AND operator. Operators in Expert, right? So first one, AND operator. How to use AND operator? See team, let me identify this element by using ID and ID value by using AND operator. This is the one example. So syntax already we know, right? Slash slash tag name at the rate first attribute. You have to give and symbol lowercase t, and again at the rate one more attribute and one more attribute value. Clear team? Within the single quotes you have to give your attribute value. Always remember. This only. So let's check in DOM here. See here. So same text box. So I want to identify this one. So inspect this one. Inspect. One more time inspect. Right? It will give you this one, and press Ctrl F. Now this time let me use two attributes. Slash slash. The first attribute let me give type here. Now this time let me give type input, right? That is now use type equals to email. I'm using first one is type equals to, in the single quote you have to give value. Already we know it, we can identify element by using this one. give input, right? So along with this one, if I am having facing duplicates, I can give one more attribute, right? Let me give one more attribute here. Already we have this element having ID, right? What is that ID? Identify ID. So we have copied here, right? Let me use this one. See here. Use end operator. This one. End operator input type. Or you can use like this thing. Let me paste it here. End operator. And okay, space. Let me check whether it is same or not. Identifier ID. Identifier ID. You have to careful team. You have to careful by the time of copy paste your attribute and attribute values. End operator ID equals to identifier ID. Has to identify team. Input type email ID equals to identifier ID. Same, right? What is not identifying? Same syntax only. Let's check with another one thing. So the syntax is same thing. You have to remember the syntax. The syntax is same. Somehow it is not identifying. See here, syntax is same. So you have to use end keyword and then one more attribute value. So or else you can use like this. End operator without end operator you can use like this. So first attribute and attribute value colon second attribute and attribute value. This is also end operator. I have documented here. See this one, end operator. So like this, you can use any number of attributes, or else you can use this end operator in middle word in middle your attribute and attribute values. End operator. So this is how you have to use end operator team. In XPath, you can use end operator. And next one is OR operator. When we are going for OR operator, let's consider. So my element is having only two attributes. So if two attributes is going to change, let's say, so this element having class ID equal to 1 to 3 and class equal to first 1 to 3. For everyone, for everything, for every new run, so the ID is having 1 to 3 and class is having first 1 to 3. And so for second run, let's say my first run is having ID 1 to 3, class first 1 to 3. Next second run, this ID is having 4, 5, 6 and my class is having first 1 to 3. So let's consider this is changing like this. Three chances. See here. This may be 1 to 3 or first 1 to 3. This may be 4, 5, 6 or class first 1 to 3. Here one more chance. Same 1, 2, 3 or first 1, 2, 3 or else like this. First 4, 5, 6. Nothing but either it may changing the ID value or it may changing the class value. Element having two attributes or one of the attribute or two attributes are dynamic in every iteration. Let's go for a OR operator. Nothing but either I want to identify element by using ID value or class value. Because two are dynamic, anyway there's a two are dynamic, but they are not changing the value more than 2 times. Nothing but, so you can identify element by using either this property, nothing but ID or class value. So every iteration, if you want to identify element in such cases, use OR operator. OR operator will give you either one value is true, then it will identify element. Here, by the time of AND operator, every element, what are the element you are using in between AND operator, it all return true. Nothing but it has contain all the values. The element it must contain this one and this one. This must be true and this must be true. True, nothing but it is identifying element by using all attributes. All must be true. And OR operator, same, replace your AND operator with OR operator, and all must one of the attribute must be true. Among these all attributes, whatever you are using, and one must be true, then it will execute and it will identify element by using if any one of the attribute is true. Clear thing? And you have to use OR operator like this. // tag name attribute value equals to attribute name equal to attribute value, and OR operator and second attribute name and attribute value. Clear thing? So in XPath we can identify element by using a single attribute and attribute value, and we can use multiple attribute values by using either AND operator or OR operator. Based on your situation, based on your requirement, go for a AND operator or OR operator. Just differentiate your attribute name and attribute values with AND operator or OR operator based on situation. Clear? And now see, in XML format, in each and element having its a relationship team. It is not an individual element. So in XML format, it is having the relationship. So how the relationship will happen? Let's discuss here. See here. Let me give a simple example here. So my one of the element is, it will start from the HTML tag. Let's consider this is a HTML. My HTML document started here. My HTML document ended here. Let's consider in between my HTML starting and ending. In between, these are the elements. The first one is input ID equals to 1 to 3, and second one is div, and second one is a, and third one is, fourth one is li, and fifth one is one more li. See here, if the document is like this, so first one input, this one is first one. Let me give numbers here. This is the first one. So there will be a relationship between each and every element in. That's what I want to convey here. See, these are all in the same line. What are in same line here? Input, a, anchor tag, and li. First one and this one. Third one and this one. Fifth one. These are all siblings here. First one, third one, fifth one. These are all the siblings. Let's consider this is the second one. For second one, input, first one is a parent here because it is inside the input. So always in HTML document you have to see from top to bottom. If you are coming from top to bottom, see here, HTML input are siblings. Nothing but these are positions in same line. HTML input, anchor, and this li. These are under in same line. That's why I'm saying as siblings. Here, second one, div is a child of input. It is a, let's consider, it is a child of which one? Input. Yes or no? And this is a parent of second one. Input, or you can give here first one. Clear team? No confusion? And this one, A is a sibling, nothing but it's either brother or sister. It's a sibling of first one, comma, fifth one, and let's consider this is fifth one, right? And let's consider this HTML. This is a chaining of, this is a sibling of first one, fifth one, and HTML. This is also tag name. HTML also one tag name. Anyway, the document is starting from the HTML, but again it's a tag name. And this third one is this one. A is a sibling of this one because these are all in same line. HTML, input, A, Li. These are all siblings. And this is a parent of, this is a child of first one. And first one is the parent of second one. And there is no relation between these two and three. There is no relation between these two. Which one? Second one and third one. There is no relationship because it is a child of first one. Here directly you don't have any relationship here. Directly you don't have any relation between third one and second one. Clear team? And even here, let's say here, if you are having element like this, let's consider if you're having element like this, HTML tag name, HTML, one more tag name here, input, one more tag name, anchor, one more tag name, li, one more tag name, div. See here, see here, if it is a child of, see my anchor is a child of A, and input is having how many childs in here? How many childs input is having? How many childs here? This is how your HTML structure team. See, observe here. This is how your HTML structure here. See here. See, this is a div, right? If you collapse this div, it will come like this. Nothing but this div is having one more div. Nothing but this div, highlighted div, is a child of parent div. Now collapse this one, and again you have one more div. Collapse this one, you have input. Input is a child of div. This div is a child of this div. This div is a child of this div. Always every element having a relationship. Clear? Now come to here. A and Li, these are two are siblings. These two are siblings, A and Li. And here input and HTML and div, these are siblings. Yes or no? These three are siblings. Now here let's consider, here I'm having one more tag. That's my tag name is div here. So now these are all the siblings. What are the siblings here? HTML, div, input, and this div. Now let's consider this time input is a input is a input, and see now this time input is a child of div, and a is a child of input, li is a child of a. And what is the relation between li and input team? What is the relationship between li and input? Anyone? Relationship between li and input. You think? Simple team. See, a is a parent of li. Now here the input is grandparent of li. Always remember, in a HTML document structure, we have a relationship between top to bottom, not from bottom to top. Always you have to search top to bottom, parent to child, parent to child, parent to child, either grandchild. And here there is no any relation between this div and li. Here we don't have any relation between this div and li, because so we shouldn't go from bottom to top. Always you have to go from this to this, top to bottom. Clear team? Now see, this will use to identify elements by using a navigation. Parent to child navigation, child to parent navigation. We can identify element from, let's consider here. So when we are going for this XPath navigation, let's consider my li is having one id equals to at the rate id equals to, it is having 1 2 3. Now here my id is having a strong attribute value. What is the strong attribute and attribute value here? Id, which is having this one, my li. Now if I want to identify my li, if I want to perform action on id, you can identify like this. Either you can use directly id value, right? For id method you can supply your 1 2 3, or else you can construct xpath by using this id. How to construct xpath? Slash slash tag name. What is the tag name? Li. You can use like this, li, right? And attribute name. What is the attribute name? Id equals to, within the single quotes you have to supply your id attribute value 1 2 3. Now this time it will identify. Now what if I want to perform action on this input? What if I want to perform action on this input? Because it is not having any attribute and attribute values. So which is having my grandchild input, grandchild having attribute and attribute values. Now if we want to perform action on this input element, in this case use a navigation. That is, we are calling as accesses, XPath accesses. In XPath, we have a different accesses, nothing but different navigations based on the element attribute values and attribute situation, nothing but based on the element location. See here. Now my element location is, it's a grandparent of strong attribute value containing element. This is a grandparent. Input is a grandparent of li. So li is having strong attribute and attribute value. Now this time go for navigations. So we have a different navigation team. So one of the navigation is following. Following nothing but, see here. Following nothing but, see, following nothing but from the current tag name, from the current node. This is we are calling as node. From the current tag name, all remaining are considering as following. And let's say for what are the following elements for this input here? These are all the following elements. After this one, we are saying as the following. After that element, we are saying as the following, right? And let's consider this is li having strong attribute values, and that time, so these are elements all are having, all we are calling as preceding elements. Input, these are all following elements. For li, these are all preceding elements. Following elements, preceding elements. And already we know child, this is a child of input, and input is a parent of div, and a is a sibling of input. Clear? And see how to use keyword called following in XPath. See, we have a syntax. We have a syntax team. Identify element by using following. See, what is the syntax? Syntax here is you have to use like this. Same like XPath. In XPath, you can use accesses / tag name. You can use any tag name which is having strong attribute and attribute values. Square braces @ your attribute name equals to, within the single quote, use attribute value and close this one. Now this is XPath, right? After this XPath, just use slash here. If you are saying slash, now you are good to go for use access. Use following colon. Now you have to use the following keyword after that colon. Now this is recommending that what are the element you want to use. Following element, what the element you want to use. Here you can give your following element tag name. This is the one of the way you can identify element by using following. Creating, suppose if the element having duplicates, you can use like this following tag name. Suppose let's consider here, let's consider the element. So I want to identify, in this case, see here, this is input. I want to identify li. Now it is having two li. This is the first li and this is the second li. Now I want to identify first li only. Now that time use a index mechanism. Tag name, index mechanism. I want to identify the first one. Here you can use like this. Here you can use index number. Or else, and if it is having one more attribute and attribute value, here instead of tag name, here you can use again XPath. Same like XPath / tag name. Same thing. Same like XPath. You can use here XPath like this. For understanding purpose, let me give here XPath. The following keyword you can use like this thing. After your XPath / following keyword tag name. What are the element you want to identify, and along with tag name, if your element having duplicates, use index number, and otherwise you can use XPath also. Clear team? And here again you can apply AND operator and OR operator. Here also you can apply AND operator or operator. Clear team? This is the following. This is the following axis. Now preceding. So if your element having strong this one, let's see how when we can use a preceding here. See here. Oh, this is having this one. Now Here, what is the strong attribute value here? Here, my li is having strong attribute and attribute value. Now here I want to perform action on where? On this a. A is a sibling to li. Now I can navigate to preceding, right? Here these are all elements having, we are calling as preceding elements. So I want to perform action on one of the preceding element. What is that? A. Now you can go and use a keyword called preceding. How, team? Same like following. Here you can use a preceding. Here, see here. Here the what is the syntax? Let me give the syntax. What is the syntax here? So same like following, you can use preceding also. This time use preceding. Xpath slash preceding tag name. Right? So again, instead of tag name, you can use, if you have a duplicates, use index number to avoid duplicates. Right? So again, here you can use XPath also. Preceding. So when you are going for a preceding, whenever your element having strong attribute, from there onwards, if you want to perform action on preceding elements, go for a preceding keyword. No worries, team. By the time of using, by the time of real time using, you will get to know all these things. You will get to know, you will get these requirements. Clear? And same like we are having following sibling. Following sibling. See, this is a following, right? This is a, let's consider, see this one, li. For this li, the following is, let's consider this is a div. See, this is a following, right? And again, it's a sibling. If you want to perform action on following sibling, now this time I want to perform on sibling. Which sibling? Following sibling. Following sibling of what? Li. Now say again, we have a one more access called following sibling. Same thing. So how we are having the syntax, right? Same this following sibling. Following sibling you can use like this. Same here, this one, following sibling. Following sibling, this one. Let me differentiate in red color, right? So instead of preceding, we can use following sibling, right? And preceding sibling. Let's consider in this example here, I want to perform on again A, and even you can identify this A by using preceding sibling. What the, for which one it is preceding, team? For Li, it is a preceding. Now, if you want to perform action on A, go for a keyword called preceding sibling. This one, preceding sibling, following sibling. Writing, and along with following and preceding, and along with following sibling and preceding sibling, even you can go for a parent. Now observe, team, here, if I want to perform action on where input, now this time you can go for a parent because it is only having the strong attribute and attribute value. Now this time I want to perform an action where is li parent of input. If you want to perform an input, so input is not having any attribute and attribute values, or it's not having a strong attribute and attribute values. And now first identify this li and navigate to its parent. By what? Again, we have a syntax for this like this. Which one? Parent. See here. You can use syntax like this. Now this time use a keyword called here, instead of following sibling, use parent here. We have so much of flexibility, team. So to identify element by using XPath, We have so much of flexibility, and this is a very important at the time of interview. So they'll ask you how to identify element by using XPath, and what are the ways you can to write a different XPath or dynamic XPath. And let's give they'll give some syntax like this. Now I want to identify this input. How many ways you can identify, right? So suppose, so you can identify by using a preceding sibling, right? So you can identify by using a parent tag, right? So let's discuss in one more way. So now we are discussing about parent, right? And now even we can discuss, we can write element XPath by using child, same like a parent. Here, instead of parent, go for a child. When we go for a child team, see here, see here. Now, now here, input having attribute like this, 1 to 4. This is 1 to 4. Now, here, let's consider I want to perform action on this input. Now this time first identify first input, and second input is a parent of first input. Yes or no? Second input is a parent of, sorry, second input is a child of first input. First identify element of this parent input, and from the parent input navigate to this one, second input. How? By using one more one. See here, child. Here use a parent XPath and slash child access we can use like this. Again, same like this. Instead of parent here, go for a child now. Creating tag name. If it is a simple single tag name, you can use this one. If you're having more than one, use index number. If you're having number of, go for again XPath. Inside this XPath, you can apply AND operator and OR operator. Creating. These are XPath accesses. Following sibling, preceding sibling, parent, child, right? Following sibling, parent, child. Now, along with this one, along this access, even we have a function string. So in tomorrow class, we'll discuss the functions, XPath functions. As of now, I'll send this document. Please practice and go to this one any website. So let's go for Mintra. In this Mintra, you are having the number of elements in. So try to identify elements by using this al XPath and al XPath accesses. So how already we know it, right? Inspect, right? So try to identify this women option, try to identify this men option, right? Try to write at least 100 XPath functions. 100 XPath, try to identify elements by using at least 100 in. Please try to document 100 elements XPath and please send it to me. And if you have any doubts, please no problem. Clear team? So tomorrow we'll discuss remaining functions of XPath.